Look at that fat cat. Oh, dog, dog, dog. Oh, dog, dog, dog. Get everybody on the ottoman today. Got all videos on the ottoman. Is it happening yet? It says excellent connection. It's spinning. It's going. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monkey Butt and Chalupa Show. Yo, it's a little guy. You're a little guy. Yes, you are. Oh, my goodness. So, you folks, it's Friday. GameStop finished above max pain, put about 4.1 million shares into the money. Finger finished above $4, managed to put about 1.1 million shares in the money. I don't know about Finger. I think there may be a dumping from Anson funds coming in and Virtue coming in for Finger on Monday. It might be a little pop, but my guess is they're going to sell into that and make their money because they bought it about $1. And so they're up 75% on it so far right now. Or sorry, 300%. And GameStop will probably have just a pinch of gamma, like $1 or $2 on Monday. And then I guess we'll see how the setup is gone for next week's options when all those numbers come out. Moodys downgraded the United States credit rating. We dropped. Basically, they cited the fact that the deficit is growing out of control, combined with the fact that no one wants our bonds, and that we haven't increased the debt ceiling yet, and we could default. So they're lowering that, which will probably mean bond yields should probably rise over the weekend on that news, because it makes our debt even less desirable than it was before, and the market didn't really react. There was like one little puny pop, flippity flop on let's see here, SPY price. Oh no, it dropped finally. There was when the news came out at 4:45 Eastern, it was at 593, dropped to 590, and has since gone down to 589. Oh, you want drugs? Okay, we'll give you drugs. Hey, ding, if I just shake this right here, you get all the drugs you could want piled up right there. Yeah, isn't that great? Just don't float around with your little blowing around face. Okay. I don't know what that will mean for Monday. Trump's coming back to the U.S. with some interesting agreements. He's withdrawn sanctions from Syria. We talked a little bit about that yesterday. The Qataris, they've managed to snake a port deal out from under the Russians in Syria. Interesting. So strange bedfellows galore going on in Saudi Arabia this week. Anything else I wanted to add? Anything else? Oh, I was watching United Health today. Paper trading it. I didn't have the balls to actually do it. But I found, if you were to do the play, I found the perfect trade. So United Health, it went today. And that's basically what it did. So if we can get this guy up here. Shaboom ba boom. Chrome. Come on, Chrome. Come on. There we go. Okay, so this was the options chain, I believe, that's for January. I want for today. Okay, so it started out around, 378 or so. Price-wise, up in this area. And then the price dropped to about 369 at one point after peaking at 383, somewhere around there. Dropped down to 369. If you had purchased when the stock price went up to 383, if you had purchased at $1,000 and you purchased, say, 350 puts, these are calls actually. We bought 350 puts for about $1,000. You can get around 300 of them. Okay, now if you bought those at one point around noon Eastern time, the stock price dropped to 369. That made these puts, which I think were about 3 cents each, the 350s at the time, spike at 19 cents, $19. Okay, you sell. You then go all the way up to the 310s. Oh, sorry, 410s. 410s? Shit. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. I'm looking at all these wrong. Anyway, you go to... I was looking at the 300s. 270s. 270 was the price. 278. So the price went down to 269, but you bought the 250 puts, cash out at basically like 6x. And then you'd buy the 310s, which at that time were 1 penny, right? And when the stock price rose, it rose to, I think, 293 or 294 throughout the day. And these guys hit something like 70 cents when that happened. Okay. So you'd walk with about $200,000 if you had timed those two plays right. And I'm sure somebody out there did. Another interesting thing, I looked at the prices yesterday, and if you had purchased Wednesday evening before market close, call options puts on this at 2.30. They cost 1 cent each. At one point Thursday afternoon, they were worth $5.50. So you turn $1 investment into a $550 investment. So you bought 1,000 of those, you'd have $550,000 at the peak. Absolutely insane put gains were happening on Thursday. And I wish I had been aware of it, but I was not until after the fact. I was like, I still think there's still some volatility left in this, up and down. I'm not sure where it's going to want to settle out, but investors are like suing the company. The CEO left for personal reasons. They're being investigated for Medicare fraud. Lots of crazy stuff going on over in United Healthcare land. Okay, Kat, did I want to add anything? I don't know. Let's just flap the hoopty boop. And did I do that? I can't remember. Oh, did I turn the intro on? Did I do the intro, Kitty? I can't remember. Yeah, I'll do it again. Did I do the intro already? Yeah, well, there we go. Boop. Okay. Boom. What do you got for me, people? We got to turn that chat to live chat. That helps. Okay. Murphy Turf Studios is first. Is this your second or third one this week there, Murphy Turf? Jay Geyser, almost. Murphy Turf. Had to run a work social game for team building today. I've realized my true calling was a game show host. Host trivia at your local pub. That's a great way to be a game show host. Kelly Reed, Thursky. Kelly Reed, happy birthday, HW. What does your crystal ball say for Moody downgrades on U.S. credit rating? Crash coming in the coming months or 2026? Well, bonds being downgraded, like the credit rating being downgraded, means the trade value will be further disconnected from the face value of those bonds. That's just, you don't want to push them to junk bond status because then things go crazy. Combine that with the fact that the rest of the world really doesn't want our bonds, which is why bond yields keep going up, is that they aren't running from anything going into bonds like, oh, US dollar and bonds are safe. They're like, eat a dick. And then bond yields have to go up to try and entice them back over. Combined with the fact that for some reason the market's rebounding, despite there being really no reason for the market to rebound, means people aren't going to be like, oh, I'm going to go into the bonds because the market's collapsing. It's just not happening. The UK also became like the largest foreign holder of US treasuries over China. I think today that was announced. So there's weird fluctuations and games afoot going on there. It also means if interest rates go up, our debt payments go up, and our debt payments crossed $1.1 trillion, and they're likely to go up even higher, which is bigger than the record military budget we have right now. It seems to me that everything that's going on at the moment seems rather precarious and unsustainable. So I'll just wait for the catalyst where, somebody just pulls a rug out from everyone in the market. I'm sure it's coming. I was reading about how some fund managers had rejiggered their hedges so that they could prepare for the collapse, and then everything rebounded, and they're like, what the hell? And they're hurting again because they weren't prepared for that. So looks like everyone's getting shaken loose in this here world of finance. It seems to me that there's probably will be some comeuppance of some kind happening this summer. We still have to deal with the outfall of tariffs, with not really having any deals brokered. Lots of layoffs going on, especially in tech, manufacturing, and the government. The government is spending way more than they were projected to because Doge cuts actually end up costing the government a whole bunch more in lawsuits, legal filings, back pay, having agencies cover for other agencies that weren't budgeted for. There's a lot going on. Canceling contracts and getting sued for canceling those contracts and having to pay out those contracts, and it's costing us a lot of money. So let's wait for a couple of natural disasters. Some oil rigs out in the Gulf getting smashed by hurricanes that no one saw coming because we didn't have any meteorologists monitoring their paths. We'll have some interesting things to look forward to this summer, that's for sure. BW Brand, a couple of handy waves. BJK031, Houston, how much gamma this Monday for GME? Poquito. I wouldn't doubt if we see it over 29, maybe touching 30, some point on Monday. What are the options for next week looking like now? 16th, May 23rd. Oh, that's the wrong one. I'm looking at the wrong stupid. That's GameStop. Okay, I want GameStop. 23rd, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, not too much. A bunch of 30s got traded around. So about 15,000 30s got traded around. 4,025, 7,029s, 4,029.5. There's potential for some ramping up of some serious numbers, probably as they come in on Monday. But I bet a lot of people will probably buy in Monday for call options, hoping that the weekend is a little quiet, and then Monday when they realize they got to buy stuff, then it starts to spike. Implied volatility's back down below 50% for the at the monies. So yeah, I bet we can swing $52 on Mondays alone, and maybe out of nowhere whales jump in and do things. I'm not quite sure. Just Miami Supreme Court ruling today. Which one? The one that told the Trump administration they couldn't deport anybody? Supreme Court blocks Trump's effort to deport Venezuelan migrants. There we go. So they technically got to bring them all back. That's the only ruling I saw pop up here. Opinions. That's the only one that's popping up in my news. Is that big one? I know we're waiting to hear about the birthright citizenship case. It seemed to me that the justices were not impressed with the government lawyers on that one, and that I hope, we'll see what the conservative side say, but I hope that they don't rule against birthright citizenship, something that's been standard for 160 years. So, Kitty, I know you're full of drugs. You were born here. You're a citizen, right? Yeah. You don't have any documentation proving that, but I will believe you. I don't think you're an immigrant. Not at all. Snert alert. Oh, Houston. BBYQ versus Evergreen will be delayed for months. Your thoughts? Thanks in advance. From what I heard is that they are in good faith negotiations. I have no idea how close they would be to reaching some sort of settlement. My guess is it will go to settlement, because you don't want to get busted for these things, because you end up having to pay out a lot if it does go to trial, and it's gonna be way more than probably what the settlement amount would be just to get it done quick and dirty. So, BBBY can still emerge from bankruptcy with these lawsuits. The plan stipulates that they can reorganize and emerge, and that part of the estate will be spent doing all that stuff in the background while the entity pops back up as to what it should be. So, I hope it doesn't mean more waiting. Just get it all done. Jay Geyser, New Martinelli's drinking game 2 every extra intro, 1 each for overdramatic sigh, 3 he gets Eye of Africa, 4 every time he discounts another conspiracy theory, 2 when RC is forgiven for Adam Aaroning, and overdramatic sigh is only so low as not to kill anyone. Maybe just 2 drinks for every 10-minute rant unless he makes it to the end of the chat. Hard to do with a 1-hour show, though. You guys want to get hammered? You want to get hammered. Brandon Wells, sub ABBY, sub No Labs. There's an interesting thing. IEP stopped trading for the next 3 days to do something. I think their payout date is supposed to be on Monday for their dividend. They don't normally shut down ahead of their dividend. So folks are wondering if it has to do with the fact that BBBY bonds aren't trading. Like, maybe something there. Could all be coincidence. But you got me, man. Charles Bronson, Houston. Is the BBBY bond situation a better indicator of getting equity than RC lawsuit? I'd like to think so. There's a lot of people tempering my expectations. Like, it can happen. They can just shut it down. Some folks are saying that the bonds aren't trading because they realize just how many of them are naked and not official bonds. And they're trying to figure out what to do with them. Because they can't just cancel. You go out and you buy a bond through your broker. You're under the impression that you're getting an actual bond from the company and not some fake naked bond written by a market maker thrown in there thinking that they don't have to cover any of them because the company's going to be bankrupt and have to pay out. And now they're looking at the books that are being released in this court case being like, oh shit, there's more money than there is debt. There's going to be a payout of 100% to these bondholders. And we've got to figure out where these things came from and who's going to owe the cash to pay out those fake bonds they made. Just like they would if they generated a fake share. You're still liable for any and all dividends that come from that, just like a fake bond. So I think the people who made those bonds were like, our bank going bankrupt, we'll just sell this stuff for millions and billions and trillions of dollars, and we'll have to worry about it. And now they got to worry about it. So there's some sort of chain of liability in there. And I wouldn't doubt if these brokers who, a lot of brokers just stop trading them in general. They're like, all right, they're going bankrupt, we're out, we're not going to trade these anymore. Other brokers are like, we don't care. So IBKR, E-Trade, they did not care. You could buy them all day long. And I don't know how many of them are getting sold were actually legit. I think that's a big reason why they halted the trading. And I think some of them are position close only, but they may say that, but other people could actually close their positions. Charles Bronson, where do Southerners get their Southern accent from? How did it originate? That's an interesting question, because I know Australians got their accent from alcoholism. Australia. We go Melbourne. The parents would be drunk all day long, because, they're a bunch of criminals, Cockney criminals that were dumped in Australia as a penal colony. And then they had children, and those children grew up listening to their drunk author-ass parents try to talk to each other, and then they had developed a drunken slur as a result. Now, the Southerners are interesting because New England accent, like Connecticut, New England, that is a more closer representative accent to the English accent of the 18th century than the English accent is today. Or there's a slew of English accents out there, but like the standard bearer English accent we may see, and this sometimes really pisses off British people, or I should say English people, not British people. The quintessential English accent, the rhotic accent that kind of drops R's, that accent was a fad created by nouveau riche during the early industrial revolution in the 19th century, and these people had been previously poor, peasant, middle class, whatever, and due to industrialization, invention, etc., they became factory owners and rose up, and they wanted to distinguish themselves from the poverty-stricken people they came from. So they invented an accent that had a bit of a, dropped R in it. And that's where that came from. So it always reminds me of in Robin Hood Men in Tights, they make fun of the oh my gosh, what's his name? I'm blanking right now. Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, and where Carrie Ewell's, he's like, unlike some Robin Hoods, I can speak with a British accent. The truth is that they spoke Old English in medieval Nottingham, right? But their Old English accent would be closer to the New England accent you find today in places like Connecticut. So that's interesting. But where the South got it from, well, you have different regions in the South, right? You have a bunch of Scotch-Irish populating the hills in the Appalachians. Those folks, face it, largely illiterate, destitute, forced off their lands to energy companies. They basically got used for centuries. And then you got places like Georgia. Georgia was kind of like Australia. It started out as a penal colony. It was a buffer between the Spaniards in Florida and the rest of the more legit British colonies going north. So you had a lot of Irish and a lot of criminals that populated Georgia. Beyond that, I wonder how it developed from there. Because my guess is it probably came from some sort of mixing of Irish, English, and Scottish accents in that region, as well as the fact that 99% of the population was completely illiterate back then. Because I'm trying to figure out myself how. Okay, so Southern accent developed through a blend of factors, including immigration, westward expansion, and class distinctions. Initially, the South was settled by English, Scottish, and Irish immigrants, and who came from rural areas where the R sound of words was pronounced. This pronunciation, along with other unique characteristics, became a defining feature of the Southern accent. Okay. And there are different Southern accents. You've got sort of your Lindsey Graham effect Southern accent. You have more like drawls where they kind of just speak around the vowels. I remember one time being at a conference and talking, and it's just talking story with this dude, and a couple of people were standing around having drinks watching this, and this little teeny lady goes, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. I can't even think that fast." I'm a fast talker. If I'm going to be a broadcaster ever someday, I got to learn how to slow it down. Excuse me. Okay. So it seems a lot of it came from rural areas in the British Isles. Scots, Irish, English immigrants, yep, in the 17th and 18th centuries. And okay, so then a combination of upper class Londoners and mixed Creoles from African Americans that came in. All right, so it's just a big old blend. All right. Excuse me, hiccups. There you go. That seems to be, I don't know sure exactly step by step how it went, but I'll have to read up on that more. Okay. Feeling good, dude? Yeah? All right. Where was I? Did that one. Michael Hunn, also waving. Michael Steegs. Hi, Houston. Beyond is slowly rising. Any idea what is going to happen in the next weeks and months? Well, they did their distribution of their baby digital share stock certificates on T0, last week before? So now the clock is ticking on when they go to either buy Beyond tokens or baby tokens, so they can provide those for the shares they shorted, or they're forced to close out their position. When Overstock did their first T0 token back in 2020, it took almost exactly 90 days before we saw a huge spike. It slowly, gradually went up over time, and then Let me bring up a graph here. Okay, let's look at 5 years here. Maybe Max. Max might help us out. All right, so this is the huge spike that happened in 2020, right? So there was a push, went up in 2018, and then down, it got short all over again. All the way at the bottom, they released the T0 token sometime in the spring. And then takes a few weeks, rises, and then peaks in August of 2020, basically 90 days after they released the token. And then it squoze for a couple months there. It squoze all the way until basically November of 2021. So I guess we got a year of markedly high prices on the stock. T0 tokens all get sorted and then hammered right back down again. Boink. With a couple little blips when they bought up IP for Bed Bath & Beyond. You look at the grand scale of things, it doesn't look like it's rocketing hard at all. But if you look at, say, the last month, boom. About here the 8th, the 7th or 8th is when they distribute the token. And we are at basically 100% gain, 82% gain since earlier in the month. So not too shabby. From $4 to almost $7 now. That's a pretty good steady climb as it's going. A price got established for those baby tokens at $5 a share if you already had Bed Bath stock, $10 a share if you do not. So it was a discount for you if you buy the Bed Bath share. So that means the shorts have to go and buy that thing for $10 minimum. So if you are a holder of those babies, you automatically can get 100% return on those shares because you can sell them to a short for $10. That's an interesting way of doing it. I have a feeling to keep your eyes on baby tokens and on Beyond stock come, August? End of July? Somewhere in there? Right, Cat? Oh, he's such a scratchy boy. And he's so high. You want to get high? Okay. Where was I? That was that one. MS. Hi, H. Trump's actions have been so systematically beneficial for himself that what's the bigger picture that you see besides kissing justice bye-bye? It's cronyism. It's that's pretty straightforward. You have institutionalized competence in the bureaucracy. And people can say what they want about, the bureaucracy sucks, Kafka, blah, blah, blah. But there's a whole bunch of the bureaucracy that works phenomenally well and incredibly efficient. And it's a folk tale to assume that everything in the government doesn't work. They do some phenomenal work. Just think about, your meteorologists predicting weather, air traffic controllers, your park rangers doing so much with so little. Like the Olympic National Park, it's just right behind me here, about 25 miles. That park is bigger than some states, and it operates on a $35 million budget. That's less than my community's school system. They need law enforcement, trash pickup, road maintenance, manage thousands, millions of people who come there every year, and they do it on a budget smaller than a small town school budget, much smaller. So they do some phenomenal things, but everything that's good is being replaced with cronies, and not just any cronies, incompetent cronies, because competent people, they do one of two things in a situation like this. They refuse to follow an order because it seems wrong, so then they resign, which removes a competent person from the job, or they refuse and they get fired. And then you get replaced with somebody who's not qualified to do the job, who suffers from Dunning-Kruger, or they have a malicious intent to destroy whatever agency they're placed into. And And you're not going to put competent people in those positions because the competent people won't do it. They kind of ran out of competent people with a few appointees in the last administration, and now there's nobody left who's good at their job, who's like, you know what, I'll step up and I'll do it for America. All of them are like, I'm not working for that man. So what's in store is basically the erosion of competence in our society, replaced with cronies who want luxuries and graft. And kitty cat, I don't know what the end result of that is, but it's not good. It probably is more akin to kleptocracy of post-Soviet Union than anything else. It's not going to be capitalism. It's not going to be socialism. It's going to be a system of graft, tax avoidance, a lack of infrastructure improvements, even further divide between the rich and poor, a shrinking middle class, and the only way to keep the people from freaking the fuck out is probably deep centralized authoritarianism. You suspend your habeas corpus. You suspend, people's citizenships, and you just declare everybody enemy combatants, and you throw them into prisons around the world, or you disappear them with no one's day in court, and that's how you run things from that point forward. It's a really shitty system. And the courts are going to have to stand up, and not just stand up, but the courts are going to have to stand up and figure out how to enforce their rulings. Because normally it's the executive's role to enforce these rulings, and they're refusing to. So the courts are going to have to use their Article 3 powers to essentially deputize enforcers to go out and make sure that these rules are followed. And that's going to make for probably real bad times in general for everybody. Giddy, you won't notice. You won't notice. You go out and just keep killing shrews or whatever it is you do. You're fine. You'll continue to be a fat boy. But the rest of us may have issues with that. So yeah, I don't know what the solution is. I mean, there's a solution, but someone's going to do it. Okay. Pitch send to Houston. What do you think of GME leverage ETFs? Seems like another way to short GME. I think so too. I don't know exactly who's behind the GME short leverage ETF. GME short leverage ETF. Not short leverage. I should put short leverage. Short leverage ETF. That's shorts are involved. Leverage ETF. Okay, GMEU. Who is behind it? From Rex Shares. Kitty, do not put your face in my water. Come on, dude. Fund materials, fund holdings. What's crazy is that okay? Let's look at their holdings here. So this is the holdings for these leveraged shares. They've got 9% in GameStop, a whopping $713,000 in GameStop. I'm pretty sure I've had people in the chat who have more in GameStop than that. First American Government First Am Gov obligation. So some sort of bond. $138,000 of those. There's a swap, but there's actually no money of a swap. So they got rid of a whole bunch of 1, 5, 7. They got rid of 14.4 million shares of some sort of swap there. 529,000 of another swap there. And that's it. That's all they have. They've got these things. And somehow 9% is in shares. 1.8% is in something else. Where's the rest? Where's the other 90% of their holdings? This doesn't scroll down. It doesn't go any further. You can go a little bit to that side, and you can go a little bit to that side, but you can't scroll down to see what the other 90% of their holdings are. I do not know. The fund somehow has $7.5 million in assets, even though all their shares are worth $713,000. It doesn't seem particularly clear to me what's in that. I don't know. I mean, can I just create some sort of leverage ETF that pretends like it's paying something out? I don't know how they're paying anything out. Looks like they're probably paying things out with government bonds of some kind. That's giving the actual dividends. I don't know. I don't understand the numbers here at all and how it works. It makes no sense to me. Like, the price is slightly lower than the actual shares themselves. So do they just take the shares, shave a little bit off the top, and keep that? And then that's what trades? I mean, it's a 1.5% management fee. So, kitty, don't bite me. Yeah, I don't get it. They got 280,000 shares, but they have 713,000 shares. How do they have 529,812 shares? Same as this number of the swap from Clear Street, but it's only worth $713,000. Like, if you've got 500,000 shares, it should be worth like $15 million. Right, kitty? Something like that, right? Oh, I don't want to squeeze your brains. I don't get it. I'm sure it's being used as locates. It seems sketchy as hell to me. Single share ETFs, I don't think should exist. Go buy the share itself. That's another thing I'd put in the Retail Traders Bill of Rights. No single share ETFs. Right, dude? Ronald Rose, Canopy Growth, a Canadian company, has been on the move lately. I'm holding shares, not sure what is creating the move. Cannabis law change? I haven't heard any law changes. There's been lots of talk about Republicans buying up pot company stock, but they've not actually descheduled it yet. So I guess everybody's waiting for the right moment to do that. And it's still like the anticipation coming of removal of drug classification scheduling. Ronald Rose, AMC, and GME both looking like a move is coming, big spikes at the same time of day. Very possible that the XRT ETF is doing some crazy stuff. There's so many failures to deliver in there. It's so many. It's shorted like 5,000%. At some point, somebody's going to have to go and get everything in that basket and return it. And I don't know when that's going to happen because they don't have the exact same T35 rules and stuff that stocks do. So their settlement is weird, and I don't fully understand it. 4ZZ9. How's everything looking for next week with the GME play, and how is Monkey Butt feeling after chemo? Monkey Butt really hasn't noticed chemo much other than the horrible toots the day of. She slept real well. She's muscly and strong and seems pretty happy. She's doing all right. I think she'll be excited when it's all over. But hey, it's big news that there's no tumors visible. So, finish her little drug regimen, which will go for another, Monkey? 10 months on the drugs. And then 2 more chemos will be done probably mid-July with that. Woo! Right? Yeehaw! So, woohoo! Let's do that. Striker. Oh, I was looking for GME. Again, I think probably next week, couple dollars. If we can close above 30 next week, that would put GameStop here. This is next week, right? Yep. So we finish above 30 next week. That gets us, let's see here. 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 19, 21, 25, 27, 41. So another 4.1 million shares can go in the money if they close above 30. And this number will probably increase because I think a lot of these are buys for next week. So I wouldn't doubt if we're up to 6 or 7 million shares represented at the 30s. So if we can get 8 million shares in the money like we did, was it week 2 of May last year? That led to days where hundreds of millions of shares were trading that Monday and Tuesday, and huge price spikes. So that's what to look forward to. Is you want to continue the gamma, you want to have more shares than the week before go in the money. And what is max pain next week? Max pain is $26. So max pain is well below where we are. Currently in the money is 1.8 million shares, so that's not going to be enough to do it. So you need to get above 30 to truly get that thing to go puny pop. We're at 9.5% above max pain right now, so that's pretty delicious. Huge numbers for those June 20s, though. Big investment in those guys. And max pain's $23 at the moment. So June might get spicy. There might be a lot of buying going on to get that max pain up, which also causes the price to kind of go up too at the same time, leading up to it. Interesting. Okay. Striker 747. Any idea how close the shorts hedge funds are to having to close out the short positions? Any chart indicator out there to look at? Thanks for all you do for us and Monkey Butt. Honestly, I don't know. There were some calculations done years ago that was suggesting that anytime GameStop's above $16, the shorts are underwater. That was like 2023. I think for AMC, it was anytime the stock was above $23, the shorts were hurting. And then they did that reverse split. So that comes out to $230 in today's stock price. So AMC's got a ways to go before the shorts actually feel the pain on that one because of their reverse split. I wonder what the latest calculation is on it. If anyone has any update on that, send it to me. I'd love to see it. My guess is from just looking at 2021, right? The stock price hits 480. They shut everything down. So 480 with the split end comes out to 240 divided by 2. So like $120 or so. So the price gets above $120. That's world ending for them. The times we've had huge spikes in 2021, it would hit about 350 and then get hammered down. It hit 350, get hammered down. That comes out to about 80, 85 a share in that range. And I think if there's a close above $80, which is like 360 pre-split price, that probably spells the worst for the short hedge funds. That probably is some sort of magic trigger that's like, whoa, this has got out of control. Margin calls going out. Everybody pick up your phones and start closing positions. They've done a real good job of making sure that it doesn't close above that price. They've touched things near it, intraday, pre-market, etc. But it quickly gets pushed back down. So if that type of spike happens while, say, Japanese carry trades blow up the stock market, or we have some sort of other crash incoming on the SPY, there may be nowhere for these folks to get capital from to meet margin requirements. So yeah, I think what we need is we need a day where we close above $80, $85 to truly see just how much damage those hedge funds will have. It'd been beautiful. It would have been so beautiful if, say, we had that happen in March when the price was about to touch $30, and then a bond announcement came out and it hammered it right back down again. But put a bunch of shares in the money, get a gamma ramp going. Don't dilute anything, and let's just see what happens when the stock price goes above $80 and stays there. Things fireworks. So, Citizen 54, Houston, how much do you think BBYQ will pay out? Is the payout for my shares or because I have shares? Do I keep them after in case of reemergence, or is this an exchange for them dividend or buyback? Depends on how it goes. So in some instances, when there is a payout during bankruptcy, the payout doesn't go to people who bought shares while it was in bankruptcy, but to the last person of record before bankruptcy. So if you own shares before April 23rd, 2023, you may get cash you don't realize is coming because you got rid of your shares. And if you bought shares during this bankruptcy, you might not get anything because they excluded you from that. So that can happen. It may just be a cash payout and done. And the company just goes, that's it. That's all we got left. Peters out. But my guess is that it's emerging using nulls. And if that's the case, then bondholders either get paid out whole in cash, which I think is possible with the amount of cash the estate has, or they take partial cash and partial equity. And then the rest of the cash goes to shareholders at the back end. How much you get paid out will depend on two things. How much cash is left over after payments of Class 6 and what the actual float is of the shares. With the HBC warrants, that could be as many as 800 million shares total shares outstanding. If that gets settled in court somehow and those shares disappear, we're somewhere between 90 and 117 million shares. So it really depends upon Hudson Bay and how much they have. If Hudson Bay, there's 800 million shares, total shares outstanding is the God's honest truth, then, max we might see like a $10 payment to shareholders per share. Because this is my estimate, is that if the courts are all settled and all the debts get paid off and they end up having somewhere around 10 billion in cash to do that, then there might be 8 billion left over to do payments. There's 800 million shares, 8 billion divided by 800 million comes about $10. If it's on the lower end, it's like $94 a share. So we won't know until we get some sort of announcement about how big these settlements are. They're all sealed, I think, until the last settlement gets reached, or the last payout, or the last lawsuit's finished. We just won't see that number until it's all done. So, yeah. Now, it's very likely if they do cash plus equity for shareholders and the bondholders, there'll be some sort of, you have a $1,000 bond, you take a $500 cash payout and $500 in stocks and warrants. And then the warrant might have some sort of cheap price, like $8 to execute, right? And you get it for a penny each. And then you have shares themselves that might be valued at $25 a share in that $500. So maybe you'll get 20 shares for your $500, right? And then you have another 20 warrants that can be executed. And but they're already in the money, those warrants. So the face value on them could be worth $10, $17, and that could climb as well if you start to get a post-bankruptcy squeeze, a la Hertz, whatever. And shareholders will probably get the opportunity to they'll probably receive equity, they'll probably receive cash, and they'll probably receive something like a 1-for-1. So for every share they had, they'll get a warrant, and it'll cost them a penny to buy that warrant from the company. That's the par value. And that warrant might trigger $8 for a stock that's $25 or something. So just imagine best case scenario. Best case scenario, you get $94 for every share you have. Cool. You pay a penny for a warrant that's worth $17 right off the bat. And you get a share in a stock that's worth like $25. So if we were to add that all up, I gotta turn off the Chrome, right? Boom. There we go. Calculator. Bam. So you get $94 for your share. You get a warrant worth probably like $17, and you get a $25 share. So basically, it's $136 for every single one of those shares you have. So if you have 10,000 shares that you bought for 20 cents each, you could have a net worth of like $1.4 million at the end of that, not counting whatever market forces take place in there, right? Remember, if there's as many as 5 billion short shares in existence, and there's a payout of $94 for each one of those shares, well, what's 5 billion times $94? That is a $470 billion cash liability for those who shorted those shares that they got to pay out, right? So boom, prime brokers busted, market makers busted, hedge funds busted. They don't have the cash to do that. And on top of that, right, they're getting closed out because they can't pay this shit. Well, they also have to close out the naked shares they have. So if the stock price comes out $25 and they shorted this thing at 7 cents, right? Let's say they shorted a million shares at 7 cents and made themselves a whopping $70,000. Oh boy, $70,000. Cool, right? Those million shares are now worth $25 million. They now are $24,930,000 underwater on their entire short position. Oops. Oh no. Right? They're already getting vaporized. So they have to go close out those shares for those million shares. Well, now that creates an incredible amount of demand. Because who knows how many of these hedge funds, family funds, market makers, etc., shorted these 5 billion shares into the market. And now what? Now you get a squeeze. Full on squeeze. You're 99% short, and they've got to find billions and billions and billions of shares, and we don't want to sell them. So those $25 shares might suddenly be worth $200 a share, $400 a share, $1,500 a share, $2,000 a share, and keep climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. And before long, you find that your 10,000 shares are worth $20 million, $30 million, $40 million. And you might, at one point, you might be like, all right, fine, I bet $45 million I'll sell. Cool. And then you still have those warrants you can execute at an $8 stock share value. You've got plenty of cash to do it, right? Because they gave you $94 a share, and you can execute that sucker and pay a whopping $8 for the warrant. And now you've got twice as many shares, and you spent $8,000 to do it. Oh no, I still have $1.35 million left after all that. Yeah, you're okay. So yeah, this could make for some crazy squeezes. Crazy squeezes. If they do it the right way. That's the big if. So big sigh. If it comes out to $10 a share, you still might have enough money to capitalize and buy the warrants, and then you're still up money on them. So there's ways for it to still come out on top. If it's the low end, if after paying everything off, their settlements are really crappy because Goldberg didn't do a very good job, putting the screws to JP Morgan or whatever, and we get like $1 a share. I mean, it's better than nothing, but it would not be what would destroy the shorts at this point. They can come up with $5 billion if they need to. It's out there somewhere. Their prime brokers have it. Someone has it. But $500 billion, they do not have that. So, kind of. Jikashukla, what's the latest on the Japanese trades? I guess you should look at bond yields here. Do I have the bond yields up here, or did I close that one and do a different search? I must have. So, we'll go there. We'll go to U.S. Treasury bond yields. Okay. Here we go. Here is the bond yields. When I get down to, whoops, I'm not seeing anything. You're just seeing the calculator. There we go. Okay, scrolling down. All right. This table's terrible. Which one's which? Okay. 1 month, 30-year, 20, 10, 7, 5, 3, 2, 1, and then, okay. I care about these guys. The 30, 4.89, 4.92, slightly down from yesterday, but maybe that will change over the weekend with the Moodys drop. 4.444. So the 10s are definitely ones to look at. These are the 10s, column 3. So when things were crashing pretty hard, March, April, The 10s were spiking 4-4, right? 4-4, 4-4-9, 4-5-3, 4-4-5. So just the other day, doing almost 4-5, a little over 4-5. These are the ones to watch out for, because if these things spike too high, it means no one wants them, which means the face value is coming down on them, which means to be used as collateral in the Japanese yen carry trades, they may not work anymore, forcing a sell-off, which then forces everyone to go back to Japan and return the money, which causes a huge drain on the markets, and these bond yields will spike even higher. I mean, this 20-year crossed 5% right here on 14th. That's Wednesday, right? So that's 5%. That's insane. Like, and the Japanese yield curves are going up as well, which means there's now more money got to pay back. And as the yen gets stronger against the dollar, it's not as easy to sell your dollars, buy a cheap amount of yen, and then pay off your bonds. If it starts to be the yen gets stronger than the dollar this entire time, then it's going to take more dollars to pay off those yen loans. The carry trades were a great way to have arbitrage, but it should have been a very short-sighted. I'm going to do this over 1 year, collect the difference in interest, and then walk away from it, and not something that I do over 10 years, which I think a lot of them probably bought 10-year bonds on this stuff. Dig Dug Doink for the monkey bee. We can do something for the monkey bee. The monkey bee want something? Yeah? Oh, do you hear me lean back? Let me get the old hard, crispy pig ear. You see me? Oh, that's a fat one. Look how fat that is. Oh my goodness, it's so good. Okay, take it from me. You got it? Okay, there you go. There we go. Dig Dug Doink. You gotta eat it. You gotta appreciate it. Right? Get that sucker. Get that sucker, monkey. Are you full? You just did have your lunch. Okay, I can sit there. I can sit there and hang out. You start. Oh, now she's gonna eat it now. Okay, there we go. I can do a couple more here before I gotta run away. Jay Geyser, Goldman Sachs pay $1.45 million fine to settle failed accuracy report billions of trades. FINRA said in a consent order on Tuesday, coding errors at Goldman led to an inaccurate 36.6 billion trades. Yeah, this is why in my retail traders bill of rights, the fine must be greater than the benefit. If you do $1 million in illegal trades or illegal shorting or spoofing or whatever, the fine must be greater than $1 million. I'd say make the fine no matter what you get accused of penalty-wise in financial crimes should be at least 100%, if not 200%, of the value of the crime you made. When HSBC got busted doing $18 billion in naked shorting, they paid like $100 million fine. They made $18 billion off of it, and they paid like $100 million. That's a rounding error. Like, they're like, okay, I guess I'll pay this $100 million. And then a lot of times these firms and funds never actually pay. There's something like $56 billion in unrecovered fines against bad actors in the financial industry. They just never paid. So, I mean, it's not just financial industry. Look at Boeing. Boeing had a consent decree, non-prosecutorial consent decree. So basically, Boeing executives committed a crime. Hundreds of people died. They said, okay, we won't charge you for felonies and throw your ass in prison if you abide by these guidelines and you do better. And Boeing's like, of course. And then they signed it, and then things got worse, and people died again. And rather than going back and prosecuting them for committing the crime the first time, which is what those non-prosecutorial agreements are supposed to do, they signed another non-prosecutorial agreement, being like, okay, you donated $50 million to the president. We're going to overlook this if you don't commit another crime. And that's basically where they are. They do the same thing with these big financial firms, too. There needs to be a little bit more hammer down on these folks, and I'm just not seeing it happen. So, Baycon bought 40,000 BBBY back in April 2023. Should I get a tattoo of my 4/13/23 Charles Schwab statement once we get paid? Not a bad idea. I mean, people won't know what the hell it is, but you'll know. It's like if I ever find a retirement stone, I'm out hunting for stuff, I get a giant gold nugget, huge diamond, whatever. I want to have a gold pan with a pickaxe and a shovel. I have no tattoos, but if I get a retirement stone, I will tattoo that on myself. It'll mean something to me. People are like, why have a gold pan, a pickaxe, and a shovel? They're like, well, I don't have to do shit anymore. So maybe if I get a payout from Bed Bath & Beyond, I'll have to figure out some like butterfly tramp stamp or something. I don't know. A towel-y. Maybe I get towel-y tattooed on me. That's the way to Funky Town. Yeah, Bacon. I like it. Whatever works for you to memorialize your moment of glory. I like it. Alice Bishop says hi, everyone. Snurler says hi, chat. I'm at the beginning of the show finally. Michael Mystery pretty shirt. Oh, Michael Mystery likes the Woody from Toy Story shirt that I believe came from Michael Mystery. Jimmy D credit downgrade from Moodys apparently. Yep. And okay, one more here. Oh shoot! There's a reset of the chat. One more question, and then I gotta run away. Okay. Talking about finger prices. We kind of went over that already. B-Ball 3710. Do you think the Mexican cartel will reign in perpetuity? Could the Mexican government realistically end it? I mean, the narcos can be defeated. The Colombians did a fantastic job, well, with help of the United States government, of whooping on the narcos, and they've sort of bled into other places like Ecuador and Bolivia, and probably doing weird things with the government in Venezuela at this point too. It is possible to do it. What doesn't help is the fact that 17 members of the Sinaloa cartel, El Chapo's family, apparently bribed their way into the United States to officially be received as documented immigrants. So here we are, taking people from their homes, ripping them out of cars who have refugee status, green cards, visas, etc., and we're throwing them on planes. You're a criminal, get the hell out of here, and we're sending them off for, a speeding ticket, a clerical error. But then we let in literal family members who control the most dangerous cartel to possibly ever exist because they got some money. So those guys have money, so they're fine. It seems to be like the height of hypocrisy here. So you're not going to really rein them in if you reward them like that. Yeah, and as long as we've got Americans doing drugs like crazy, they're going to find markets. That's just how it works. So we don't treat people who've got drug addictions. Instead, we chastise them and imprison them and let them suffer. And then they go out and buy drugs, and that money goes straight to cartels who smuggle the drugs or grow the drugs or make the drugs, etc. And they get money, and they can do all sorts of things with that money, such as buy weapons and government officials and take over entire regions of nations. And then the cycle just continues. So, I mean, the Italian mafia, there's still, Italian mafia in New York, and there's Russian mafia in China, in triads and stuff like that. But the large, like, hey, Bambino, Sicilian mafia in New York they went legit. They made so much money, they opened up trading firms and hedge funds and family funds. Because there's no sense in going to, like, run a protection racket on a restaurant in Little Italy when you already have $400 million you can just give to a hedge fund and have them manage it, and you can just do whatever you want to do. That's where a lot of that money went. So the criminal elements eventually find themselves legitifying themselves because it's not worth the hassle anymore to, like, run drugs constantly. When you have enough money, make an interest, it can just take care of itself that way. So I guess that will be the solution eventually, is that they are making so much money that they don't want to do it anymore. I guess. I don't know. Yeah. And Morganizer says, ER nurse here, I can vouch for all this. Revolving door drug problem. It comes from broken community and broken family because there is no community to support the family. Yeah. And people that have trauma and mental health issues and addiction problems, they don't have resources because we closed all the hospitals, all the mental health hospitals. And if you have drug problems and you've got mental health problems, you don't have a job, therefore you don't have health insurance. So how the hell are you ever going to get the treatment you need? And then Gavin Newsom, for some reason, is like, I'm going to make homelessness illegal and punish everyone for being homeless. When it all goes back to Ronald Reagan in the 1960s, closing all your mental health hospitals in California, creating a homeless crisis. That's it. It's that simple. Just get people the help they need, and then the problem goes away. Oh my gosh. Anywho, you folks have a great day. I will catch you Monday. We'll see what happens, right, Monkey? Yeah? Okay. All right, dudes. Have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. High five a grandma and pet a kitten or something. All right. Later, skaters. Bing. There's a snake in my boot.